What's up guys, I'm Sure here back in the video. Today's video is what if, so my season 3. So let's begin. So this is the teams I have decided, and I'm going to put Damien on Team Amazon because I have a really interesting idea. So episode 1, we're just going to have it where this is episode 1, so this is the teams formed. And the storylines are going to be like this. So Julia and MK friendship. Scarigo and a Damien friendship I think will actually work pretty well. Caleb and Millie. And Chase getting over Emma and actually being a redeemed character and trying to redeem himself. This is really going to bug Emma. Bowie's going to see this as annoying Emma and he's going to try and get her on his side because he'd have 4 people on his side of the alliance. Because he can also get Wayne. Ripper and Axel, being Ripper and Axel, being happy to hear on the next minute they're back to having a bit of a rivalry. Episode 1, the red team, blue team, and the pink team. I'm going to have the blue team lose the challenge. And I'm actually going to cut Ripper. Because Ripper made it pretty far, actually, in every season. Scary Girl's going to show Priya how to have some fun. And that's her storyline. I think, on the whole, Ripper getting eliminated would be a huge achievement for Bowie. Because, you know, Axel is not a Ripper, not the best of friends at this point. He's going to know that Axel and Ripper obviously are going quite threatening. He wants to keep Axel around because she's better for challenge sake, so he's going to get rid of Ripper. Because he does better in seasons. Episode 2. So, in the second episode, this is a commercial. So, Chase will be pretty good at this. And I'm actually going to say that the pink team will lose the challenge. And Damon and Scary Girl together. So what I'm thinking is Julia and MK try to convince Priya. What I'm thinking is this is where we are actually going to cut Priya. Because I have a really interesting idea for Priya. Because on the whole, I don't think Priya's got a lot to achieve throughout this season. And I think personally, her being an early boot would work quite well. Because I think personally, I'm not a Priya hater. I like the character, but I think personally, Priya's made it to 2 merges in the season, I think, having her eliminated. Because I want Scary Girl and the show to actually make it emerge. Because they're the only 2 contestants that haven't actually made a merge yet. So I think getting rid of Priya would be a huge accomplishment for Julia and MK as villains. So what I'm thinking is they convince Scary Girl to get rid of Priya. I don't think they'll convince Damien because Damien and Priya are close friends, but Scary Girl doesn't really have a strong opinion on Priya. They're not as close yet. So I think it would be ironic if Scary Girl managed to get rid of Priya. Episode 3, 5, episode 4. We're going to actually say, at this point, we're going to say that in the 3rd episode, that the red team would lose the challenge. And I'm thinking this is where we cut Millie and Caleb. I'm actually going to say that Caleb and Millie. I'm actually going to say that out of these guys, I'm actually going to cut Millie from the cast. Because Millie's a strategical threat. And if we're trying to make Michelle as this major antagonist, she hasn't really done that much yet in this season. And I think getting rid of Millie would be a huge accomplishment for her as a villain. And she can manipulate Z. And she's trying to get Chase, but he's trying to redeem himself last season. Redeem himself as an actual person. So we're going to get rid of Millie. Episode 4, we're going to say the blue team will lose. And Bowie, Raj, and Wayne vote for Emma. Emma and Axel would vote for Wayne. Farage. Bowie doesn't matter. I think Emma's out. I think for Emma to get this far is fine. She doesn't need to get far. I think Chase outranking her, because usually Emma always outranks Chase. And I think it would be cool if Chase did outrank Emma in this season. So I think Emma's eliminated. So 5. This is where things get interesting now. Obviously, alliances. Michelle is obviously on her own. Bowie, Wayne, and Raj are in an alliance. Axel's trying to convince Wayne to vote for Bowie because she knows she's definitely going home. Because I don't think she can convince Wayne to vote for Raj because they're best friends, but I think he could convince him to vote for Bowie, which we'll get to that in a minute. Julia and MK are obviously trying to sabotage realizing Scary Girl and Damien are quite threatening in a tiebreaker. And I think around this point is where Julia finds the idol around this point in the season. And Chris reveals there's an idol in play. I'm thinking she finds that. And I'm going to actually have the red team lose. And I'm thinking this is where we cut Caleb from the cast. Because I think going forward, we don't have much Caleb to do here. So I think for Caleb, he already made it pretty far last season. Episode 6 rolls around, and this is where we have, obviously in episode 6, we're going to say it's Fight Part Challenge. I'm going to say that the red team win and the pink team. And in episode 6, I'm actually going to cut Bowie from the cast. So I'm actually going to say in episode 6, I'm thinking Tiana's only is the challenge. So I'm thinking this is where we are going to have to get Julia out. So these two vote for Damien, the other two vote for Skip, would vote for Julia. Now Julia and Damien would have to face a tiebreaker. But Julia's about to reveal her idol, but she can't find it. We see a flashback of Damien finding the idol after tripping over. And Damien says, looking for this, and this would annoy Julia, and she gets eliminated. So she's not a really early, very early massive first boot, but she's an early boot. And I think if we're trying to make Michelle the big villain of the season, I think getting rid of Julia would be a huge accomplishment for her as a villain. Maybe Michelle gives Damien the idol, but regardless, I want Damien to be the one to take her out, because Damien she robbed his idol in season 2, so I think it would be ironic that Damien was the reason she got eliminated. Episode 7 rolls around, and obviously I'm going to have it where the blue team lose the challenge. So Axel and Wayne would vote for Bowie, and Bowie and Raj would vote for Axel. And in that tiebreaker, I'm not sure, it's a bit hard to say. I'm actually going to say Bowie gets eliminated. I'm actually going to cut Bowie. I'm not quite sure how I would do it because he would be in an ideal position at this point. So what I'm thinking is Axel just about manages to convince Wayne to get rid of Bowie, or she has the idol to get rid of him. So we're just going to say Axel manages to get rid of Bowie. But at this point, she knows she's going home if they lose again. So episode 8 then is where I'm going to make one last elimination. So I'm actually going to say the red team will lose, and we're going to cut Z. Because going forward, I don't think Z has much to achieve in this season. I think for Z to get this far, he's achieved enough. And I don't think personally he's to get any further in the season. So now we are at the merge. I'm going to say the double pair wins Amine. But it's not a double elimination round, which is why I made 14 episodes instead of 13. Okay, so basically I'm actually going to have it where there are 4 guys and 4 girls. So we're going to have guy-girl pairs. So I think Damien and Scary Girl, Wayne and Axel, Raj and Nichelle, MK and Chase. Now, this might be a bit of a strange one to win because MK would decide to sabotage everyone else, and Nichelle would decide to team up with MK. We know that Raj is against cheating, so she can't really sabotage anyone for this challenge. So I think MK and Chase will win because Chase is actually, and MK would get on pretty well. I think Chase wouldn't like to necessarily sabotage the contestants, but I don't think he'd necessarily say anything. I think MK could distract him very easily. So MK and Chase end up winning immunity. So Nichelle goes to Chase and MK and says, we need to vote for Wayne because she can't get Raj to do it because they're close friends. And the people she convinces are Axel and Damien and Scary Girl. So she tells everyone to vote for Wayne because he won last season. If they make it to the final two, they're going to choose each other and Wayne will have an easier time winning the competition. They get mad and realise that she's right and vote him off. So for Wayne, he's an early merge boot. He's the first person that's eliminated in the merge. Episode 10 rolls around, and this is obviously where, at this point, Damien and Axel and Scary Girl are really close best friends. Nichelle's going to see them as a massive threat because of this, and MK is going to be very suspicious that Nichelle's acting more villainous than she was last season. So she's going to try and actually figure this out. Chase goes to Raj and Damien and makes a guys alliance by saying they're being outnumbered at this point, so they need to stick together. Raj, knowing that Bowie's eliminated and Wayne would have no real reason to disagree. Damien would ask could they add Scary go into the alliance, and I don't think Chase would normally be cool with this. But because it's an extra vote, Chase reluctantly allows Damien to join because he says sure, he doesn't have a problem with this. Nichelle overhears this and goes to MK and says we need to make a girls' alliance for Scary Girl and Axel, which they end up accepting. So then it's just a race, I think. So this is going to be a horror-themed challenge, trying to find Jack the Ripper. An episode like I See London, and Damien's not winning. Scary Girl wins immunity. So easily, because nothing scares her. So she would win immunity, which isn't a bad thing, because Scary Girl probably would have gone home here. So the guys vote for Nichelle, MK. The guys aren't sure what to vote for. But Nichelle tells the girls to vote for Damien. But Scary Girl doesn't want to vote for Damien because they're friends and she actually likes him. So Nichelle is annoyed at this, but compromises to get rid of Raj instead. And Nichelle goes to the guys and tells them to vote for MK. This wasn't their idea. They were going to vote for one of them. But she tells them to vote for MK. So these three vote for MK. I don't think the other two would vote for Raj here. So Raj is out. So Raj is eliminated. Episode 11 rolls around. This is where we have the three-legged race type situation. So in this we have a surfing theme challenge. And I think Damien and Chase decide to stick with their alliance because they're the last guys in the game. Nichelle, obviously, she's going to try and work on them because they're on their own. Nichelle realizes Scary Girl and Damien are the last duo on the side of the alliance and the Chase alliance. So she decides to make an alliance with MK. MK wants to get rid of Nichelle, but she decides to work with her for now because she knows she's going to be quite threatening going forward. So she decides to reluctantly allow the one to work together. So I'm going to say Axel would win immunity. And I think the girls decide. Nichelle decides to vote for Chase. So Nichelle decides that she's going to vote for Scary Girl. MK is going to vote for Michelle, and Axel are going to vote for Michelle. Chase, Damien are actually going to vote MK. So it's a tiebreaker between Michelle and MK. So in a tiebreaker between Michelle and MK, I'm actually going to cut Michelle from the cast. As I think at this point, Michelle has achieved enough in this season. The fact she's made it to 6th place is really impressive. So I think she doesn't need to get any further. So episode 12 rolls around and MK realises that Axel and Chase are her last hope to convince them to get rid of Damien and Scary Girl. One of them. So she goes to Axel and Chase and says that we need to vote for Damien or Scary Girl because if we don't, they'll end up choosing each other in the end. And that can be quite threatening going forward. And I think they would agree. So MK decides to stay back and says she will let Axel or Chase win immunity by giving them the paths to win immunity so she can slow down Damien and Scary Girl so they can lose the challenge. So she sabotages them by doing this. And Chase and Axel decide to fight to play rock, paper, scissors to who gets immunity. And I'm actually going to say Axel would end up pushing Chase into a bush and winning immunity. So Chase and Scary Girl are going to vote for MK. Scary Girl, Axel and MK are going to vote for Scary Girl. And even though Chase would be annoyed at Axel, he knows it's only just the game. But I ultimately think Chase would side with these guys, the girls, to get rid of Scary Girl. So Scary Girl's eliminated. I think it would be ironic that he was the reason Scary Girl got eliminated. And Scary Girl's out. Because I think the Scary Girl to make it this far in the season is really good for herself, so I think she doesn't need to get any further in this season. Episode 13. So this is the finale. Obviously everyone's with their helpers. So there are 3 parts to this challenge. So the first part is basically a race. So how would I rank every single one of these 4 characters? Well, from first to last. So 4th place, Chase. I think Chase having the ultimate redemption story, personally, having the ultimate redemption story is really good for him. I don't think he needs to win the season, but I think the fact he's 4th is really impressive for him. Episode 3rd place then it's just a... So this is a battle on the canoes. So between Damien, Scary Girl and Axel, I'm actually going to say between these 3, I'm actually going to have it... I don't know between these 3. This is difficult for me to decide. It's tough for me to pick. But I'm actually going to say it's Axel. So why Axel specifically? Well, she played a really good game of the season. She's most physically athletic. Damien and MK decide to team up to try and take her down. I think for Axel to be 3rd place is really good. And the fact she played a strategic game was really good in this season. So I don't think she needs to get any further past this point. So final 2. Who wins? Damien or MK? Very both deserving finalists. Damien, well, my boy was robbed last season. He was robbed. MK plays an extremely good game. She takes out Michelle. And she's kind of also like a antagonist as well. So, Damien or MK? I love Damien as a character. But do I think he needs to win this season? A World Tour season. MK or Damien. I'm actually going to have... That's tough. It really is tough. I'm going to have MK win it. You can disagree. You can say it's like the original, but I think Damien coming second place would be really good. And, villains win season. This would be the first time a villain actually wins because Julia was really close in her original season. So the fact that these are the final three, like final four, Chases in the final four is really good. And there's going to be, basically there's going to be an extra 3 episodes in total, so like 3 extra episodes. So the first part, the finale, is where Chase gets eliminated, the second part is with Axel, and the finale, the very last part, is where Damien loses to MK. Very close, but there we go. So this is the elimination order, and how I think the season will go. In my Season 3 version of... This is my way of the reboot of Season 3. Now, keep in mind, this is only the characters that are in the actual series, so they could add more characters and they can make it 26 episodes. But I think... I actually... Assuming they're doing the 13-episode format, is how I think this would go, because I don't have any way of knowing how this would go. And I think MK, Damien, and Axel definitely are going to make it very far in their season. Nichelle kind of being a villain makes it interesting as well. Scario and Nichelle making it to merge, I like. You can argue there's a few, like Bowie. He may not got eliminated in episode 7, but I wanted to keep Axel around because I wanted her to make it at least top 3. Like, I think personally she should be in the final 5. But I think the final 5 I picked is the best final 5 I could think of. So thank you guys for watching. This is the amazing order and how I think the season would have gone in my way of Season 3 of the reboot. And yeah, peace, farewell.